Hello, everybody. This is Frogman, and welcome back to Manufactio. This is going to be episode 64. Today, we're going to play in the test world. We've got our lab coat on, and we're going to do some science because we need to know which one of these little bitty machines, big little bitty machines behind us, is faster than or should be the best one to be able to carry us through to end game as far as throughput, time, energy, and whatnot. So at this point, I don't care about how much energy all this stuff uses because, I've got a reactor that's capable of making lots and lots of power. But for you guys that are looking at various things in your worlds, it might not be a bad idea for me to just sit down and do this. So I wanted to kind of at least show the majority of what we have as far as the various smelting capabilities that we have in the game, to include the regular old vanilla furnace over there and the mechanism energized smelter that's over there. So let's do a little bit of just walking around and looking at a few things, and it can kind of explain what we've got going on here. So what I have is I have an example of everything that we should be able to use in game as far as smelting, from a vanilla furnace to an electric furnace that has the max tier speed and efficiency up in it, a regular blast furnace, a blast furnace that has two preheaters on it, because if you have the power to run one, you have the power to run both, so just do both of them. They're cheap. We have a lark furnace, an arc furnace with the regular system, as always. We'll speak about this. And I have an elite smelting factory that is capable of doing 7 slots of stuff in the system. So we'll start back down here because I'm going to use the furnace, the regular old vanilla furnace here, as a baseline for the entire test, so we can see exactly how long it takes for a vanilla furnace to work through a stack of items. I'm also going to use pulverized iron. I'm using iron in this because it is one of the ones that is more expensive to run through an electric furnace as far as power. So that way we're using the most amount of power out of both of those that we could through that stack process. The next thing in line is an external heater on a vanilla furnace. An external heater basically makes a vanilla furnace run twice as fast for power without any fuel. So it's kind of if you need a little bitty pollution-free way to make things, this is a pretty small footprint compared to this thing. And this makes pollution. The last two on the end don't. This one doesn't either. The only real problem with an external heater is it uses an ungodly amount of power. Yeah, well, it's pretty bad. It's where is it? We were looking at this. Let's go up here to processing. It uses 160 RF to heat the furnace, meaning it uses 160 RF to make the furnace smelt things. It uses an additional 480 RF a tick to operate the furnace at double speed. So that's a lot of power. That's more power. Excuse me. That's more power than this thing's going to use. I think well more than what this one's going to use. That's more power than what that thing's going to use. So it's a lot of power, but it works in a very small footprint. So they're very handy. Now, in a normal everyday thing, you can, for that matter, run multiple furnaces off of an external heater. And it's going to use the same amount of power for every single furnace. It's going to use that number all across each and every one of these. So every time you add another furnace, you're going to add that much more RF a tick coming out of that thing into the system. So they're definitely worth looking at if you need something in a kind of a small compact section like that. So of course we have the regular old electric furnace with no upgrades in it at all. I have an electric furnace here that has a speed module 3 in it and an efficiency module 3 in it, and I'm doing that because a speed module 3 gives an increase of, 70% energy usage. The the efficiency module will then again reduce that by 50%, so we're only using 30% more power per craft smelt at half the time. So it's going to be very usable once you get to this point. This is something that is doable. It's just, it's still kind of, it pollutes and it's nasty, and it is what it is. I do have a productivity module 3 over here just as a representation that you can put that in this block right there, and then you can get an additional, I think it's 80% power usage. Where is it? Let's see, right there. 80% more RF a tick per thing, a minus 15% speed, and a 10% chance to not consume the materials. That is available. You can put it in this furnace. I am not going to do that for this test because that screws up my numbers, because that 10% chance means that I'm going to end up with more than a stack of items in this chest, and this thing will not be done. So I'm going to just say goodbye. We're not going to be concerned about you. We're going to build that sucker and let him run just like that. The next thing is, of course, a regular old improved blast furnace, which is your first upgrade from a regular vanilla furnace. He's here mainly to just show you just how much faster it is between certain things. An improved blast furnace with 2 preheaters, of course. We're going to have this in place just so that we can say, again, this is what our current system is like. This is what I'm using for smelting everything pretty much. So we'd be able to compare how fast this is versus that furnace versus these two. Now, on to the two monsters. The arc furnace, of course, is one of those things that's a regular pain in the butt because of the fact it has graphite electrodes that you have to maintain. This is the only manual function in this thing. These have had their durability buffed quite a bit, so they last a considerable amount of time. Yes, I've already burnt through 0.5% of them testing this, just trying to get this to where I can make the input and the output work as fast as possible. Because these last two guys right here, last two machines, they don't smelt, or I should say, these guys right here smelt faster than a vanilla hopper can put things into a machine. So everything from here over, a vanilla hopper is fast enough to get things into it, and the auto output function or the hopper pulling things out is fast enough to put things in and remove them. When we get to these two right here is when we start having problems with speed. For this test here, because of the fact you have to use this kind of a specific function to get things into this so that it auto splits, hopper inputs or item ducts that are fairly slow, meaning that not that resonant servo, will put in slow enough that it will auto split. If you use an item duct, like that guy right over there, with a resonant servo on it, it will put everything in that first slot and it will just work through that first slot. So I'm using an omnidirectional hopper with 4 speed upgrades in here just because it can do that tick rate. I think probably 3 is enough, but anything more than that, and it's so fast it just plunks right in that section, that spot right there. So that way we're getting the full 12 items smelt out of this thing. Over here, of course, we have an Elite Smelting Factory. Now, the Elite Smelting Factory only does 7 items per run, which means it's going to be generally going to be slower than this thing is, but it's going to take up less space. It's also going to use an ungodly amount of power to do it because of the fact, and I've tested and I've played with this right now where I'm sitting in this world, I can only put 5 speed upgrades in this machine. Any more than that, and it will not be able to use the last 2 or 3 slots because it will not have enough power here in this line to be able to do the work it needs to do. Now, the thing about Mechanism is Mechanism has many upgrades for its thing. You have a speed upgrade, you've got an energy upgrade, you've got all those kinds of things. What happens is if you try to go more than that, it cannot go any further. Like I said, it can't use any more RF a tick than 28,000 RF a tick. It can't do it unless I put an energy upgrade in this to expand this inventory of energy up to where it can then be using a little bit more speed upgrades. So max speed upgrades on an Elite Smelting Factory without any energy upgrades is 5. Just so you're aware. On the back side of everything, I have the power that it should require to be able to get through most of the smelting, and notice how much power that thing's going to take. It's going to use most of what's sitting right here. This guy, of course, just 1 elite energy cube. This one is everyone on down. They all have regular elite energy cubes, or elite energy cubes. Ultimate. Everything else has an elite just because that way it's easier to see what's going on. And I'm using elites because of the limitation for output on these. So we have that way we have an even type output on the rest of them. These two guys are literally going to be, we're going to flick that lever over there and go look at these very quickly, and they're going to, we won't hardly have enough time to think to get over here and look at these to see how fast they are versus the rest of them. So just saying, that's how we're going to work this. I have current transformers on a few of these just because I was wondering what some of them would use, but for the most part, almost all of this is trackable through JEI as far as how much power they're going to use, aside from that one, because that one has the upgrades in it. And of course, then there's this guy so that we'll be able to look at it. So as far as telling when everything is done, I have an inventory checker on the bottom output chests of every single one of these furnaces, and it is set to look at the first slot in the chest, and when it hits 64, output a redstone signal. So that means as soon as I get a stack of something right there, I should see that light turn on. Pretty simple. Okay, so we also have coal in everything that we need to deal with. I believe I'm going to go back through and check all this because I keep playing with it, having fun with it, and it's going to be, for those of you that have probably never done this or tried this, this is pretty interesting to see how quickly certain things can happen, to the point that it's changed my mind on using a few things. But I'm going to we'll let that we'll cross that bridge when this lever gets flicked. So the only other thing that I want to say about this is that this right here, well, I should say this one right here, there are only 3 things in this line that do not pollute. Only 3. It's going to be this furnace, the arc furnace, and that elite smelting factory. The smelting factories or the energized smelters don't make pollution. I should say, I'm completely wrong on that. The only 2 things in this that don't pollute are the energized smelter and that furnace right there. The arc furnace puts off pollution, but it doesn't put off near as much pollution as, say, some of these guys do. So, yeah. The thing is the amount of time this is going to run versus, well, I should say both of these versus some of this stuff, it's not going to make a lot of pollution. It's really not going to make a lot of pollution per thing that it smelts. So I think that should be everything explained at this point. We have a redstone system that is set up very simply with just some little wires to automatically turn everybody all on at the same time. Everything should be ready to go. I need to go make sure every boxes are full. They're all full of iron. Again, like I said, we're using iron because of the fact that it has the most energy usage per smelt time for one of these guys right here. If we do this into, let's see, I need this button. Done here. If we use an electric furnace wherever he is, it's 420 RF a tick. Now, this is the highest number that the electric furnace uses, as far as I know, for just general smelting purposes. And that goes for many things like glass, hardened stone, other things like that. So we're not concerned about its alloying capabilities. We just want to see who's the fastest, at least in this setup. So, are we ready? I think everything is ready. I think I've got it all set up. I think all the batteries are charged again. So, time to flick the lever. 1, 2, 3. And we're coming down here for a reason. Done. Done. Now we're going to walk back here and look at a couple of these. That blast furnace is going to use 560 RF a tick. This one with the modules in it is going to be using 714 RF a tick. This one without is 420. And that dude right there is 480. So it's actually, the numbers are a little weird with that. It's 480 RF a tick to go double speed, so for a single furnace. But anyhow, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to position myself so where we can watch every single one of those lights turn on over a period of time. I'm going to obviously speed the video up, and we will see you guys back when everything is done. hope everybody found that little part interesting. We ended up with some very interesting numbers and things that I kind of thought were a little bit surprising, at least on the basic part of some of the power usage that we're seeing across these various machines and how close some of this stuff actually is for the amount of time it runs. So, as we saw, the clear obvious winner was the arc furnace. The arc furnace took 10 seconds and it used 1.3, 1.13, 1.13 million RF to do that. That's pretty stinking good if you think about it. The advanced smelting factory, the elite smelting factory that's sitting here, took 25 seconds to cook a stack of stuff and it used 10.7 million RF to do it. That's I don't even have words to say the difference between these things at that point, because of the fact that that's just, I get it. I understand that I can make this work better, and we may even test that here in a little bit, but that's ridiculous, and that is not helpful. I mean, I understand that we can buff this and make it worse and do other things, but why would I run that when I can run this thing? Just kind of a thought there. The interesting thing that I did find, actually, very much so, was the fact of how good this little system is comparative to some of these other ones down the line. A minute 50, almost 2 minutes to do an entire stack of material, and it only used 1.7 million RF and 8 coal to do it. This guy right over here took a minute and 25, or 25 seconds less amount of time than that thing does, and it used a little bit less RF, I believe. Yeah, a little bit less RF, but it's only 25 seconds faster than that thing is with all of this in there. And it costs a lot more to make that structure. So even then, it's a great way of doing things, and if you have the capabilities, these two things right here, those modules, are ridiculously expensive to make. So you're really kind of more or less looking at a number along this line where it's 2 minutes and 44 seconds, or almost a minute faster or slower than that thing is. Yes, these don't use coal. Yes, that thing is a pain in the butt to automate. It's kind of one of those. I can see where this is a very interesting thing, and if you did put the productivity modules in it, it would go really, really, really well. That I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. It's okay, and I'm not going to use it because I've kind of just managed to keep this going on the same way. The comparative number is the 1.15 or 1.15 million RF usage versus the 1.72 million. This is a little bit more power hungry, but it should be because it's going to be using more power. Two preheaters should use more power technically over the same period of time than that one would, than this should, because of the fact that thing is going to be eating somewhere in the neighborhood, what did we figure, 500 and something RF a tick versus this one's 420. So it should, over a period of time, eat more than this one does. And it does. The other thing that's very interesting to note, and it's down here on the end over here, I don't know how any one of us have ever dealing with these things. I can understand why people build massive arrays of furnaces, because for 10 minutes to smelt a stack of materials, that's ridiculous. And like even this, it's twice as fast, but it's still 5 minutes to smelt a stack of materials. And this guy, out of everything except for the furnace or the smelter on the end, uses an ungodly amount of power for not a whole heck of a lot of gain. So I was going to say, this is not a bad thing to be playing with. I don't know why you would mess with it for that point right there. I mean, if you have lots of power and you need something in a little bitty area, sure. But it's only twice as fast as this thing is. This furnace right here is faster than that thing by almost half. Almost half. It's pretty close. So I think you can see where we're going with this. We kind of played around. We got a little bit of a few things going on. The interesting thing, again, like I said, is the difference between these two guys. These are technical end game kind of stuff. This is what you would be looking at as far as doing end game stuff. But even then, this one arc furnace replaces 12 of any one of these other single inventory furnaces. This one replaces 7 of any one of these single inventory furnaces. So Both of these two are definitely carryable all the way to endgame if you want to play around with the mess. And the thought here again is we don't have any energy upgrades in this. And in order to get energy upgrades in this is going to be something we're going to do really, really, really quickly. Energy upgrades. I'm going to grab just enough energy upgrades to get this thing to where it will handle all of the speed upgrades it's supposed to handle. So we're going to, where is the speed upgrade? Speed upgrades there. And then let's grab a stack or 3 or 4 of iron. Just so we can have something to play with. Just so we can play with this just for a second. So if I say I'm going to put 2, I want to actually see what the difference is. If I put 1 energy upgrade in this was 28,000 RF a tick. Now it's 37, which means I should be able to put 1 more of these in here. And toss some stuff in. Okay. So now we're at 37,000 RF a tick, 33,000 RF a tick to be able to run 1 more thing. And it's still pretty slow, comparatively. Put 1 more in it. Do that again. See, we're getting to that point where we're still not doing it. See, it couldn't handle it. It got to the end of that, it couldn't handle it anymore. That one actually probably needed 1 more of these. Go ahead, do it. Do that. Do that. And go. It's still longer than 10 seconds. It's using 44,000 RF a tick to process slower than that thing does. So that's a pretty much clear winner as to what we're planning on doing for the factory. This is what we're going to be using. I am going to probably just tear out a few of the blast furnaces that we have in our smelting factory and build just a couple of these, because we have 36 of these sitting there, which means I can replace 36 of those with 3 of these. And for those of you that don't know, if I use a, let's see, iron ingots, over to here, done. If we go to the arc furnace, it says it needs 588 RF a tick for 1.5 seconds to craft one of these things. So if I have my calculator up over here and I say 12 times 588, that means it's going to use 7,000 RF a tick. 7,000 RF a tick for 1.5 seconds, or the amount of time it took for the whole thing. Then we're done. This is the system. Everything's working. So I think this is where we're going to go. I'm going to have to craft a whole bunch of these stinking these rods up, but I do have plenty of the rod material laying around, and 3 or 4 of these, just 4 of these, are going to use less power than most of these, for that matter. So we did do, what was it? Well, I can do the math on that real quick. We did figure that out. 1.72 divided by that. Yeah, it's going to be one of those where I think in the long run, I'm probably going to be saving power using these than all of those. And if I'm not, it's going to be just barely close. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little deal. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to spend quite a bit of time editing this video because I'm going to have to put a timer on it. But it's been fun. This is one of those kinds of things I do like to do, playing around with as far as just experimenting with things and see what's good about deals. I really kind of want to go over here and flick this lever one more time and do this. No, hang on a minute. I want to do this one more time. Give me 2 stacks of this. Dump the box. dump the box. That. And that. Still faster. Did it not work? Yeah. So I guess that's what I'm going to go with. We're going to have fun with it, and I will see you guys in the next episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you later. Bye.